Solving the question 40 from the SAT number 9, April 2017, and let's jump in and go through it. So 40, the question reads, which statement best expresses Henry's and Pendleton's respective views of the Confederation? So this is what I would say is kind of like a bigger picture question for the paired passages. Normally paired passages, there's a few questions on them that really require you to kind of have a decent understanding and grasp of the passages overall, at least the main arguments that each one makes, and kind of have a good memory so you can play back and forth. So before going into this question, we should at least know that Henry kind of takes a more favorable view towards the Confederation. I don't think he gives it outright praise in any situation or at any point. But he's skeptical of the Constitution, which replaces it. He thinks it should have remained and maybe have gotten fixed. Whereas Pendleton kind of has a more dismissive view towards the Confederation, a more negative view. At a minimum, we should just say Henry has a positive view, more positive view, and Pendleton has a more negative view, and that can kind of help guide us. The other thing I'll do is I'll start to look and scan through each one of these and kind of look for a specific opinion about the Confederation. The only time the Confederation is mentioned in passage 1 is here, at least by name. It's mentioned elsewhere sort of by reference. But I don't think this really tells us too much specific claim about the Confederation that Henry makes. So I will keep looking into passage 2 for to see if there's a more specific claim there. And I think there is sort of in this part right here, which basically says here, it was not that basically, let's see. It has been said that it has carried us, this is the Confederation, through a dangerous war to a happy issue. Not that Confederation, but common danger and the spirit of America or bonds of our Union, etc. So basically, here's the objection, which is saying, why are you replacing the Confederation? It brought us through this war to a happy outcome. And then he's basically saying it wasn't that Confederation, it was common danger, the spirit of America, it was other qualities that brought us through. Then he goes on to call it an insignificant paper. I think that this is a pretty good characterization, or at least a pretty direct characterization that Pendleton gives of the Confederation, so I'm going to keep that in mind. And as I go through the answer choices, I'll look at A, which says Henry felt the Confederation was flawed but correctable, while Pendleton felt it had served no useful purpose. This part right here stands out to me. Served no useful purpose sort of matches insignificant paper to some degree. It also sort of has a positive, negative dynamic we're looking for, so I would keep it. B says Henry viewed it as a perfect expression of democracy, while Pendleton viewed it as fundamentally authoritarian. So this is also sort of positive, negative, right? It's the right dynamic. The issue I have with it is this perfect expression of democracy and this fundamentally authoritarian. The issues that I have with that, they're just too absolute. I don't think that anywhere Henry, we can go back and check, but I don't think anywhere he really says it's the perfect expression of democracy. I think we're unlikely to find that viewpoint anywhere in an SAT passage. And fundamentally authoritarian, maybe, but I don't think Pendleton makes that claim, and it's a very strong claim, which requires a lot of justifications. I don't think we have it. I would at least put it way on the back end as we solve this. C says Henry regarded it as adequate in its current form. Okay, that seems okay. While Pendleton regarded it as a transitional system only. So this could be possible. We can maybe keep it for now, although we have to go and check this transitional system part out. D says Henry considered it an unavoidable compromise during a time of crisis, while Pendleton considered it to have harmed the nation's future prospects. I think this right here is a pretty strong claim. It's not too strong to say it would never be an answer choice in the passage. But if we go back, or on the SAT, but if we go back and look at the passage, we should see that I don't think there's anywhere where really Pendleton is making the case that it's irrevocably harmed our nation's future prospects. Or Henry doesn't really make the case that it was unavoidable and it was a compromise. He seems to just think it was what we had to do, or it just was what we had at the time, and maybe it needed to be fixed, but not that it was this compromise that was unavoidable. I don't really see that, so I feel kind of confident eliminating D as well as eliminating B. And that leaves us with A and C, and we have to just find, does Henry find it more flawed but correctable, or C, does Henry regard it just as adequate in its current form? I think if we go back and look for Henry there, I think we find more evidence for the other one, that it's flawed but correctable. Here he says the Federal Convention ought to have amended the old system, so it needed to be amended, right, and should have just been corrected, right? That's it. I think that's correct. And then if we look down at here, serve no useful purpose, we definitely see this right here, insignificant paper, that matches. And then we have C, which says regarded it as adequate in its current form. Well, if we found this text here, which basically says it ought to have been amended, that sort of erases that one, right? That he thinks it was adequate if he thinks it ought to have been amended. And then there's really nowhere in the passage that we're going to find this transitional system part, like it was meant to move from one thing to another. He's in favor of the new Constitution, but I don't think he expressly says that the Confederation was meant to be a transitional system. So for that reason, I think we can get rid of C and choose answer choice A as our correct answer for question 40.